Hey, a little bit early. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been about probably a month and a half since I last streamed. Have had some things going on. Haven't felt like streaming. We've had a number of family things come up, unfortunately, including a death in the family. So, just haven't felt like streaming. Haven't felt like tying much either. Some of that is got a little burnt out on tying Atlantic salmon flies. They're very complex. They take a lot of effort to tie. Streaming doesn't take a lot of effort, but tying those big complex flies certainly does. And then on top of that, all the family things. I do appreciate everybody who reached out, checked in, wanted to see how I was doing. I do appreciate all the concern. Yeah, it just goes to show how great the fly tying community is. But we're gonna tie. We're not gonna do a salmon fly today. I need to get tying back into my fingers, so to speak. So we're just gonna tie something easy. Get used to wrapping thread again. But yeah, I'm just gonna hang out and chat, and you'll definitely notice right off the bat that it's definitely different because this is an eyed hook. You may not know, or but I am in the pro program with Wilma Creek, who are the U.S. purveyors of partridge hooks. So I've got a number of these, and I really, really like. This is my favorite model of their eyed hooks. This is the fine wired classic salmon streamer. I actually really like to tie blacker flies on these hooks. It's PH-CS26 if you're interested in the model. I don't buy eyed hooks a lot. So, I'm hardly, I can hardly consider myself sponsored by them, but these are some very nice hooks. The other thing, got a new desk, so my streaming and tying setup's a little bit different, but nonetheless, very pleased with the way things have turned out, at least in terms of my setup. But yeah, just with the family stuff, it's been a little bit hard to work up the desire, the gumption to tie and stream and just talk. But yeah, we're back. Like I normally say, I'll try to be every weekend. Now that I have Sundays off on the regular, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, unfortunately, if you're new to the stream, I work in public health. I work at my local health department, and unfortunately, we are seeing a resurgence in the number of COVID-19 cases. We are getting busy again, and so I may be called in on the weekends sometimes, unfortunately, but that's just how things go. Right. So today, what I wanted to tie is actually one of my favorite flies from Mary Orvis Marbury. It's the Lord Baltimore. I went to a school whose colors were orange and black, and so this fly, despite orange and black being a very ridiculous kind of everyday color combination, this fly speaks to me on a very deep level because of its orange and blackness. And so, yeah, it is one of my favorite Mary Orvis Marbury flies. I tie it a lot, relatively speaking. So yeah, so we're just gonna tie one of these. It's easy. It's simple. It involves a great big slab of goose for wing, which will be a little bit of a challenge. Although it won't be such a challenge on this size hook. but it'll be good to get the feeling back in my fingers, so to speak. Now, I will say, being back today, there probably won't be a stream next week because next week is Easter, I believe. Let me double check that before I stick my foot in my mouth. I believe next week is Easter, however. Trying to see my calendar. Let's see. Where is my calendar? Yeah, next week's Easter. All right. So there probably won't be a stream next week just because Easter weekend, be doing churchy stuff. But I am going to try and be a little bit better, even if I'm not tying salmon flies, tying something. I also got new glasses, which I noticed even, tying, just doing the underbody today in preparation for the stream really, really helps. Yeah, I am getting to that age. And I kind of think it's not even so much that I got new glasses and I have a new prescription, but that these glasses don't have like all the smudges and scratches on them. It's a big quality of life update, let me tell you. So, a little bit of black goose for the tail. Sorry, just adjusting some settings here. A little bit of black goose for the tail. Got a lot of black goose. Just trying to figure out which slips I want to use. There you go. All right. I also do apologize if the outside noise is a little bit loud. Actually, let me turn this lamp on. It's looking a little dark here. There we go. There we go. It's one of those very hot not hot, but like, stuffy, humid days. And if my window wasn't open, I'd probably be sweating real hard. Not hot yet, but it's just humid. We've had rain all night, so. But yeah, if it gets to be too loud, I'll just close the window and suffer. What other news? Hasn't been too much. Like I said, we've mostly been doing family stuff. So that was a little bit of a trick there. If you are tying in something that's really soft and it's going in all by itself, so for example, like duck flank or goose, as we have here, if you notice that it is not sitting properly with just a single soft loop, do a double soft loop, and then just let the weight of the bobbin pull it down and tighten it. That's any soft material that you're trying to keep in like a slip form like this. If you're having trouble with it crumpling, double soft loop, and then let the weight of the bobbin tighten it. I think. Nope. Thought I had some black floss there. Now I built up a little bit of an underbody. However, I am planning, or I'm going to use all of the butt ends from the materials that I tie in to help kind of continue to bulk out this body as we go. All right. Then we'll wrap forward, tie in the orange floss, wrap the body, wrap the rib. Easy peasy. But yeah, orange and black is such a kind of ridiculous color combination just on its own, like out of context. If it's not Halloween or if it's not like your school's colors, totally ridiculous. But yeah, it was my school's colors, and yeah, I love it. Funny enough, it was also the school colors of my mother's high school, and totally unrelated time and place. But what a coincidence! Also, the fight song for my dad's high school was also the fight song for my high school, and they actually had the same colors and mascot. Again, totally unrelated time and place, but man, what a coincidence. So we're just doing, we want to make sure that the underbody is smooth. Because this is going to be a silk body, we don't need to make it super smooth. We don't need to make it, perfectly flat underbody, because the silk will fill in a little bit of like, some of those bumps and things. But we do want it to be, we don't want there to be any large valleys or bulges in the underbody, because the silk can't overcome those. It can, like, if it doesn't have to be like glass smooth underbody, but it also can't be super rough. So that's why, flattened thread and close side-by-side wraps are super important. A super important skill to have. It's a super important skill to have no matter what you're tying, and to be able to do it quickly. I will say with these light wired hooks, they are a little bit flimsy, so they don't, they'll bend under a little bit of pressure. They're very elegant looking though, which is why I like them. I'm just going to trim this a little bit. Trim it at an angle so that you continue the taper. I need my Yeah, and then always, spinning my bobbin. You can't see it very well, but I am spinning my bobbin counterclockwise because I wrap this way. Oops, this way. To untwist my thread or to flatten my thread, I'm spinning my bobbin counterclockwise to flatten it. To basically untwist the thread. I'm removing any extra twist that builds up while wrapping. From the thread. All right, and I actually left a fair amount of gap at the eye, but I think I'm going to end up. I actually want to crowd the eye quite a bit. I just think that's a better aesthetic. No, like on a fishing fly, you don't want to crowd the eye too much because you want to be able to still tie in. But either on a display fly or if you're using a blind eye, crowding the eye is not a bad thing. And I think it makes the fly look a little cleaner as well. So we're just going to wrap orange down and back, flat as can be. Camera's a little bit closer than I think. Couldn't quite remember how far away I put the camera from my vise, so I think it's actually a little bit closer than normal. So I'm sorry if I bump you guys. I promise it's not on purpose. And again, I'm not wearing silk gloves to do silks because I wash my hands. And the main reason why you wear silk gloves is if your hands are super rough, which mine are probably a little too rough, but eh. And also if your hands are particularly greasy or sweaty. I know, like at shows, sometimes I wish I had gloves because you can't just get up and go and wash your hands at a show. As much as you sometimes would like. But yeah, just having clean, dry hands. And if you have like super rough hands, you can actually use like a pumice stone. I've got one handy that I sometimes use to smooth out my fingers when I need. And the other thing, like I've said before, I'm not trying for a super smooth, glassy silk body. That's just not my aesthetic. I prefer a silk body with some amount of texture in it, which is why I frequently do not use the Japanese silks, but would rather use the French, Legarten silks. Because they're a little bit coarser, they give the body a little bit more texture. That just to me is a little bit more of a satisfying aesthetic. Of course, to each their own. I've seen some amazingly beautiful, glassy silk bodies, and I love looking at them, but I can only look at so many of them before they become uninteresting to me. All right. Back off my thread just a little bit to save a little bit on bulk, although because there is a dubbed head on this fly, I'm not as concerned about building up bulk up front as I would be if it was just a lacquered head. Because you expect a dubbed head to add bulk to your fly. And in fact, I become a little bit suspicious if somebody dubs a head and it's tiny. um, I actually think I'm going to need to build up a little bit of extra bulk here just so the wing doesn't slide off when I try to tie it in. Okay. Now for the wing, and these are the remains, I guess, of some very beautiful goose. All these materials today were acquired through John McLean at feathersmc.com. I'm not sponsored, but man, he does put out great products. I get this question a lot, actually, like where do you suggest getting materials? John has the I think so. I will say John may not always have like everything, but he has most consistently the best stuff. Others do carry, there are other feather merchants that have really good things, but they are not always quite as consistent in the amount of stock that they have available at any given time as John normally is. Some nice broad pieces of this goose. When you're doing these wings and you're doing them for display rather than fishing, now I probably will end up throwing this fly in my fly box because it is tied on an eyed hook. But when you are tying these flies for display, you always have to tie these wings a little bit chunkier than you would say normally. I feel like, and that is because, these wings won't have quite the same impact because they tend to be monocolor, right? A single color, either like black or maybe two colors like red and yellow, or just like plain turkey. And that generally doesn't have the same visual impact as a mixed wing does. And so when you go to tie in, or when you design or tie in these wings, in order to have the same kind of presence as like a mixed wing, they've got to be tied in a little bit chunkier. But the principle of tying one of these in is just the same. All I'm doing is I'm soft looping, and then I'm using my fingers to help compress the tie-in area, and then letting the weight of the bobbin just pull that a little bit, compressed, that compression tighter. So that looks good. I'm going to take one turn in front, another turn in front, really tight, just to make sure they're solid. Shape my wing. Shapely wings are aesthetically pleasing. And then, as normal, pinch the wing and then just trim. I'm going to do it in several small. You never want to try and trim the wing all at once. Okay. Oh yeah. I almost forgot where I put my tying wax. Like I said, I got a new desk, rearranged everything, so almost forgot. wax. And the wax will help stick down all these extra like fuzzy things as well. And then also once I go to dub the head and also actually do the cheeks and the hackle, it'll help everything just kind of stay in place, stick there. Now the cheeks, I'm going to use Jungle Cock. I have actually this this is a fairly old neck for me. This is one of the first that I bought maybe 10 or 12 years ago. I have pretty much picked it clean of all the unsplit eyes, so I'm going to use split eyes today. There's nothing wrong with that. You can imagine that back in the 19th century when these flies were being invented, quality jungle cock without any split nails, probably pretty unheard of. You would get a whole bunch of unsplit nails per neck, but then what do you do with the rest of it? So if I had to guess, a lot of tyers back then were probably tying with these split eyes. They were either repairing them or they were just using them as is. And I've reached this conclusion because the prevalence of mixed wings, and I find that split eyes like this really play well with mixed wings, as opposed to like the built wings that we are familiar with today. So, yeah. Now I will try to pick some split eyes that match in terms of their splittedness, but I'm definitely using split eyes today. That's better. All right, so they're close. Okay. So we'll use these. And like usual, I'm not going to do too much prep. Actually, that may be a little big. Yeah, that's all right. I never do too much prep for tying in jungle cockeyes. I mostly just kind of remove all the spare fluff. But I always try to tie in on some of the spare fluff. And the reason for that is it just helps the jungle cock remain flat against the fly. So so if you look here, I stripped away all of this extra fluff here. Let me grab. But then I'm actually going to tie it in about right here across this little bit there of the fibers. And the reason for that is those fibers will help hold the feather flat against the wing and not let it roll or like stick out too much. So there. So you can see how that kind of works there. It's kind of big, but mm, those eyes look a little bit big. And also, this one looks a little bit long. All right, there we go. Here's a little bit lower. And tight turns just to secure them. And we're good. Trim the excess. Wax. And now I'm going to use a rooster neck feather for the hackle. Although I'm going to try and find a fairly webby one. Um, I do prefer to use rooster as opposed to hen hackles. Even in especially for flies this small. This is a number 2 hook. Um, but even in general, on like larger salmon flies, I prefer to use rooster neck because they're spikier, they're a little less dense, they have a little bit more sheen. Now, on a larger size Mariovis Marbury fly, I think it's perfectly um, appropriate to use like Schlappen. It is not my first choice for salmon flies. I feel like Schlappen's a little too heavy for salmon flies. But for Mariovis Marbury flies, they definitely could be appropriate. Um, in larger sizes. Now, in a smaller size like this, it may be a little bit too overpowering, in my opinion. Your mileage may vary. And I'm just going to fold it on the fly. Just gently pulling all those fibers over and across. I'm going to do about 3 turns of this hackle, I think. No, pull it out. Oh, I didn't. Happens. I don't know if you pull out like a wing or a rib while you're tying. I always feel like the worst thing you can do is panic. um, Perhaps ribs are a little bit harder, but like body hackles, other bits, they're dispensable. Just call it a variant. Most people won't even notice. Okay. And finally, I'm going to a nice bright scarlet wool head. Call it a day. I'm actually going to use mohair. That's what I got. It's perfectly. It's also perfectly scaled for this size fly, I feel like. So, some wools. So something that people sometimes don't think about is how coarse their material is when they are tying in smaller sizes. They see, you know, use wool or use seal, and sometimes that can be too coarse if you're tying in a smaller size. So sometimes it is helpful to have things like mohair on hand to I'm gonna see if this works. I don't know if it will. I'm actually going to try and no, it's not gonna work. Cause hey, can I whip finish with a bit of dubbing left on? I don't think so. It's a good thought. Might have worked. But we'll whip it here. Just the wing a little bit. Looks like it could use it. All right, and there we go. That is the Lord Baltimore, my favorite of the Mariota Marbury. Well, second favorite, I guess. I guess my favorite probably would be the Grasshopper. Probably, I've tied a couple on the stream before. I think that would actually probably be my favorite. But this is, great color combination. Yeah, I tied on Partridge CS26. So, anyway, just a short stream today. Get back into it. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, and again, thanks to everyone who reached out just to make sure that we were doing okay here. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a difficult time, but yeah, I appreciate it. And now that I'm kind of back into it, hopefully this will become more regular. So anyway, thanks for hanging out today. Again, sorry it's a short stream, but yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and hope again probably next week, not next week because it is Easter, but hopefully the week after. So see you then, and take care.